The woman you can see on the photo was called Therese Neumann, and she was from rural Bavaria. She was born in 1898 in Konnersreuth, which is in the Upper Palatinate in Bavaria, which is a very rural part in the south of Germany, right next to the border to Czechia. And yeah, that's where the Bavarian forest is. It is a very rural and superstitious area. And Therese died in 1962. After extinguishing a barn fire in March of 1918, she began to become ill. Vegetative complaints set in, which led to physical collapses and various falls. And in September 1918, visual disturbances began to appear, which increased to complete blindness by March 1919 and were temporarily accomplished by deafness and epileptic seizures. And in 1918, she suffered from paralysis. It led to bedriddenness, inability to work. She had to be cared for. And in 1922, she experienced trouble swallowing. And in 1923, so about a year later, on the day of the beatification of Therese of Lisieux, she was suddenly able to see again. Her blindness was cured, and in 1925, on the day of the canonization of her namesake, the paralysis completely disappeared, according to the information from her environment, which believed her. And from February 1926, she began to suffer from stigmata and bleeding from her eyes, which led to a large number of visitors. And this is also what you can see on the pictures of her, where she is in her bed bleeding from her eyes. On Good Fridays, when the stigmata were particularly evident, up to 5,000 people appeared to have a look at the wonder that she is. She is said to have neither eaten nor drunk anything except for the Holy Communion since 1926. But this is one of the main reasons why people started to doubt her very soon after she made all of this public. She is also said to have regularly experienced visions of mainly biblical scenes from the New Testament since then. And in 1927, she was already visited by writers and people who, I think, the first in 1927 there was also a brochure written about her where someone did question whether the miracle was real or fake. And the appearance of the stigmata began during Lent before Easter 1926, during a vision in which, according to her, she saw Jesus sweating blood on the Mount of Olives when a wound about 3 centimeters long and about 1 centimeter wide appeared in the area of her heart. And later, wounds appeared in her hands. She had the crucifixion marks of Jesus there and on her feet as well. And she then developed small scattered wounds in the shape of a cross on her head and throughout her body, and on her shoulder she had another mark which was said to be from Jesus carrying the cross. And those wounds stayed until she died. What is interesting about this is that the people who were dead Catholic became so convinced in her that they rejected Hitler and Nazi Germany, because Nazi Germany did at first try to go along with the Catholics, but they did not like superstition and extreme faith and miracles and things like that, mysticism. They rejected that, and because the Catholics were so convinced that Therese was right in what she said and what she believed, and they said that her wounds they must be a proof for the Christian God existing, and some of those people did actually yeah resist Hitler, and in the documentary about Therese, it is said that the Nazis tried to assassinate her, but they didn't succeed in that. But I could not find proof about that online. It may be true, though, because she was known to be someone who rejects Nazi Germany, and until her death in 1962, many people from all over the world came to experience her wounds, and for a long time I really thought this was so Bavarian. I could not believe that people outside of Germany are even aware of that, but then I started seeing the picture on many creepypasta sites and all over the internet. I've seen it on 4chan even, and I thought it was so crazy because I really thought she was just a local phenomenon. Indeed, people do still come to her grave until today, but unlike some other Catholic people, she is not dug out of her grave again, so she's just there, and people leave so small plates where it says "You have helped me," and many people believe that she had healing abilities. She could heal people's illnesses and other problems, but of course in 2004 there was an investigation by Mark Benecke, who's one of the most famous German biologists, and he found out that she self-harmed, and the blood of her eyes was actually something she put there on purpose from other wounds, and she um, carved the wounds into her hand by force, and it is assumed that she did the same with all of her other wounds. Regardless, the Catholic Church still believes that she might be a miracle. She is not holy today because there are many doubts even in the Catholic Church, but generally they are on her side and they believe there must be something to her story. Yeah, then, like I already said, the most thing people doubted at first was her claim that she did not eat because she was overweight. She was clearly well fed, and she claimed she didn't eat anything. So people said, how does this happen? And she completely rejected this criticism. She said, no, just the Holy Communion. That's just how it is. Yeah, it's superstition. I don't really know what to say about it because I'm not Catholic. I cannot relate to believing in things like that, but it is very interesting to me how far the picture has come, and it really looks like a scene of a horror movie. But Catholic people love, and Bavarian people who are very superstitious love things like that. They love also putting up skulls and bones of saints into the churches to worship, and there's just a different connotation to blood and wounds than it is maybe in the Lutheran church.